Well, today's a video that I never intended to make. I'm not supposed to be working on this truck at all. I got a project over there in the garage that's this close to running, and I can almost taste the sand in my teeth. Also, today I'm going to do something that's way out of my comfort zone here. But circumstances sort of aligned that I'm going to try something new. Now, this kind of all started back in October when I was at the duct tape drags with my $2,000 race Jeep. I met a fellow named Derek. He has a show called Brace Grip Garage.
Got a Jeep? Ooh, like that.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's pretty good. At that event, he brought a Chevy pickup, and it looked real nice, even though the paint was really old and faded. What he did was just basically scuff down the paint and used his shine juice on it, and it looked really good. So that got me to thinking, how would this truck look if I did that to it? Now, I don't even remember the last time I washed the car. Yeah, that one's still covered in mud. Never mind use some kind of product on it. But we're gonna try it, see what happens. Now the first step is scuffing down the truck. He used the SOS pads. I found the Brillo ones to be 50 cents cheaper, so I bought these. We'll see how it goes. But this is basically an abrasive pad with a little bit of soap in it. I'm gonna lightly scuff down the vehicle with that. That should take out the oxidized layer and make this come out a little bit better. But before I start anything, let me show you what we're starting with. We've got paint that just has a layer on it. On the fender, we have a little bit of rust coming through and someone primered over it. We have a little faint bit of old pinstriping, a little more pinstriping right there. It looks like the paint's down to primer here, down to metal there. Right here we actually have some lumps. This is probably some kind of mold or something. It's random spots of primer along here. For some reason this fender flare is a completely different color than this body, so I'm not sure what happened there. But when you get down here, it's the right color, so maybe that's the primer, not really sure. Up top here, we go from the orange to yellow. Something tried to escape the hood right there. So there's a lot of things going on with the paint in this truck, but we'll see what happens. Now the basic technique is you wet down the panel, then scuff it real lightly with the abrasive pad. I can see some of the old primer coming off on the pad, so I'm doing something. I'm gonna let that dry real fast and see what we got, just so I know what's going on here. Time for a cup of coffee. Well, it's dried off. Obviously I went a little too light, but it's better to go too light. I can always go heavier. If I did some damage, it really couldn't be undone. So we're gonna go a little heavier and see what we got. Definitely doing something here. Did one side to show you how it's working. That's the old side. So definite improvement here. One thing I found out, that white paint was way softer than the original orange. I barely touched that and it came right off. Kind of regret doing it at this point, but nothing I can do to undo it except repaint someday maybe. But we'll see how it looks when it's shiny. Here's the Shine Juice formula. 1 part boiled linseed oil, 2 parts mineral spirits, and a dash of WD-40. Assuming spilling's okay. Happen to have a can with no propellant here, so this is perfect. There we go. Maybe a little bit of propellant. Perfect. Now I'll stir it up thoroughly. I believe now the term is, bring on the shine. He does it better. Really like what it does on bare metal. I think that's the best part. I think it's better on that than paint. This paint that was coming right off with the abrasive, it comes right off with a rag too. I just pull over on it. There, I got white already. So whatever paint they used here was not what's known as good. That's looking pretty nice. It's definitely shiny. And you can see all the big dents in the hood easier now, but I think overall it does look better. Now this is the first day I did it. We're going to look at it tomorrow and see how it looks then. It's the next day, and this truck looks just as shiny. I was worried the evaporation overnight might change it, but it still looks good. Only issue I found was that a cat with muddy paws walked across it. You can see evidence of cat. Now I hosed off the hood where the cat walked on it, washed off the dirt. We'll see how it looks when it dries. Now the truck looks good, these tires look particularly bad. Now I know Severo tires are not known for their appearance. We're going to see if we can do something a little bit better. So I went ahead and popped the 88 cents for a bottle of Comet. And this is a trick I learned years ago. Basically you take the Comet, you take a scrub brush, wet tire, scrub brush, a little more water, a little bit of Comet. Try not to get it on your hands. Oh, apparently this was white letter. You know, I had absolutely no idea this tire had white letters on it when I installed it. Apparently now it does, which means this is going to be glaringly obvious because I don't think the other ones do. Maybe they do. Let's find out. As it turns out, I have exactly one white letter tire on this truck. So that's going to bug me. I might have to do something about that and actually change it out. But we have more immediate problems. You might remember last episode where I installed this hydro boost and got the brakes working. As soon as those calipers went on, they didn't release. So the front brakes are still stuck partially on. Now I had a lot of trouble driving it over here on dry ground. I've just made it wet. That's going to turn into mud. So we're going to try to drive away and see how that goes. Right after I got unstuck, FedEx arrived with my brake parts. So I'm going to actually fix these brakes so they release all the way and I can roll. Now calipers were like 20 bucks a pop for a complete unit. That's $40 for the whole front end. Now poking around, I found I could buy rebuild kits for under $2 a piece, which left me enough room for buying the new hoses too. We're going to have this whole front brake system working perfectly, hopefully, maybe. Now this brake caliper is locked up tight. There are two main reasons the calipers stick on. The first is the rubber lines are preventing the fluid from going back. So it allows fluid to go in, they somehow deteriorate inside, they block it from going back. These things stay pressurized. The other way is crud inside the caliper, which means that the caliper moves, the pressure is released, but the piston's stuck in the engaged position and it won't retract. That's what I think happened here, but the way to tell for sure is to crack the bleeder. If the pressure is keeping it on, you crack the bleeder, you get a bunch of fluid sprays out, you know that it was pressurized, and then the brake will release as soon as you relieve the pressure. If you crack the bleeder, nothing out of the ordinary happens, and the caliper is still stuck, that probably means your caliper itself is frozen. If you do have the pressure, it's usually this line. It could be upstream. That's another possibility, but we'll know which way to look right now. What I'm gonna do is crack the bleeder. So you'll see a fountain if it's pressurized. Nah, nothing. Yeah, it's just barely dribbling. So that line wasn't pressurized. The rubber line is probably serviceable right now, but remember, this truck has been apart for 25 years in the desert sun. I got myself a new truck. Yeah, some assembly required. So that rubber line has been exposed to the sun like it's not normally used to for a long time. So even if it works right now, it's not going to for very long. And a new one was only $9, so I went ahead and popped for it. Caliper bolts are off, but of course this is not going to come easy because it's seized on. So we'll just pry it off of here. That's moving. That's something. That moved a little. Yeah. There's a reason this truck didn't want to roll. There we go. We're getting somewhere. Alright, now remember how you're supposed to support the calipers and not pull on the brake line? Doesn't matter if you're replacing the brake line. Makes life easier. Now, the other thing, that caliper is stuck, which means that piston is not going to want to come out. So before I disconnect the line, I'm going to use the brake pedal pressure. I'm going to try to pop that piston out with its own hydraulic pressure. That way I can make my life easier when it gets to disassembly. Yep, fluid's coming out. That means we lost our pressure. So that should be ready to come out. This is how the caliper looks inside. That might explain the sticking piston. So we're going to wire brush that out and to throw it all back together. Barely long enough here. I've got to tuck this up just barely at the end of the drill to get down to the bottom there. Yeah, I think I got it. Oh, fell off. But looks like it's clean, so job done. Got a wheel cylinder hone here. Gonna try to polish it up a little bit because the piston didn't fit. Alright, let's try that out. I always make sure these fit before I put the seals in. Calipers are really simple to rebuild. There's one rubber seal inside that really does most of the work. Then on your piston, there's another outer seal that keeps dirt out of it. And that's it. So put the seals in and pop the whole thing together. These things are pretty simple to assemble. The only thing that's even slightly tricky is that outer seal. That has to go in sort of like an oil seal, but it doesn't like to go. It usually tries to pop out and bend. So what I do is I clamp one side, I set it in, clamp one side in with a vise, and then tap around it to get the rest in. And the vise holds it from going too far. And preferably use a punch with a rounded end so you don't tear the rubber. There we go. Alright, last tire's back together. I bled the brakes, and it feels like I have a good pedal there. So I might actually have brakes at work. And the best part is, after I let off on the pedal, the tire turns again. So that's a big improvement from earlier today. But it's getting dark, it's late, I got a steak waiting for me at home, and it's time for a Friday night beverage. So I'm going to call it quits here. I'm going to try it out in the morning. We'll see you then. It's the next day. We're ready to test the brakes out, but I want to do one thing first. I was looking at what I had last night, and I realized I never told you guys what happened with the rear brakes. Last time I did an episode on this, I was fighting mud wasps in the front brake line. Finally got that cleared out by cutting off the section with the mud wasps, refitting it, and then the front brakes went on and never went off. The rear brakes I didn't touch in that episode. One of the comments I got was a good way to clear out mud wasps from lines. I tried that out, and let me show you the flashback to what happened there. I got the suggestion in the comments from last time I worked on these brakes. I do appreciate your comments. They're really helpful because I'm just making this stuff up as I go along. But the suggestion was to use the flexible cable like on a control cable, like a bicycle brake, or in this case it's a piece of throttle cable from a motorcycle, and that braided steel won't break as you vibrate it because it's a little more flexible. So I'm going to try using this to run in and clear out those mud wasps. It's spinning nice. I'm getting a little flexing as I put pressure on it, so I'm going real light pressure. Big chunks of stuff coming out. I just made it all the way through with this piece. I'm going to get a longer one. Oh, we're clear this far. That might be the trick. That looks like it worked. I took this thing up and wish I had known that last time. But I'm glad I know it now. Alright, now that that line looks free, let's pop this back bleeder. See if we actually get fluid back here. The pedal did go down, so if nothing else, we got air in the system. But it'd be nice if we actually had working brakes. Oh, I see fluid. Things are moving. That's good. The bleeders are totally clogged with, you guessed it, mud wasps. I think every single thing that has an opening in this truck will probably need to be cleaned. Oh great, you're back. While you've been watching that, I've been fixing that white letter tire problem. The easy way. So it's got one more to go here. Now I don't have to dismount this tire. It's a moment of truth. I'm gonna try backing up, stopping, going forward, and stopping. That's gonna be a big step for this truck. Well, the brakes are a little bit spongy. There's probably still some air trapped somewhere, but they definitely work and they definitely stop it good. So, I know I said next time you see this truck on video, it'll be on the road. I was planning on having a little more time, but let's see if we can sneak that in. So, I'm gonna check on the lights on this thing, make sure they all work. Yeah, that happened. I figured I should probably check at least the hazard lights to make sure all the signaling works. Yep, that knob broke off too. So, the only thing you really need are brake lights, right? I've got power up to the connector going to this light now. Every connection was bad. But I'm going to see if I can actually get some lights going. A lot of dirt inside there. Even inside the socket. We have power going to the bumper. Now let's see if we use the actual light housing as a ground. If that works. We got power. Now there's a bulb that I know is good, and it's not working. Of course, whenever I disassemble a car, I strip all the bulbs out of it. So I've got a wide assortment of used bulbs that might work. This one is a new one on me. Now I've been checking the ground to the screw that attaches it, which is where it's supposed to ground. Now the only thing that should have power is this bulb, but the ground part of the socket is powered up, which means that socket installed in this metal housing that is grounded is not connected to the metal housing. So I haven't seen that one before, but this truck has had a lot of new things for me. Now let's fix that. All right, now I got the whole socket moving. Oh, I saw light. I think we got something here. Yep, there we go. So this last problem was the socket that was crimped into this metal housing was not connected to the metal housing it was crimped into. So I had to wiggle that. This thing has definitely been a challenge. Well, now it's becoming a going to town rig because I'm going to town next. I need gas, and that's what the gas station is. Got to spruce up the interior. And really there's only one thing to do a complete interior revamp on a truck of this vintage. The saddle blanket seat cover. I actually had trouble finding one of these. They used to be everywhere, but trying to find a seat cover for a bench seat these days, not quite as easy. So I had to actually mail order it. But it was cheap, and I think it'll do wonders to that, especially that area of the seat. Hardest part is figuring out which way is up. Ooh, pockets. Those have got to go on the front edge. There we go. Complete interior redo in just a few minutes. Oh, there's one thing I forgot. I'm missing a window crank here. I can't roll my windows down. There. That's solved. Works perfect. And I can use it as a door handle for the other side that's missing the door handle. Seatbelts work. I am pretty happy with the way that came out. And we're back. It did it. Made it home on its own. That's it for today. We made some big progress. We can actually use the truck and put it on the road and drive it around. It looks great. Everyone who's seen it says it looks like a whole new truck now. There's still some things to do on it. You probably heard it misfiring. I'm still running that distributor that's meant to be run by a computer. I just got it hot wired to run as a standalone. And that's not right. It's never going to run right with that. So I'm going to take care of a few other things, but I'm happy with what we've done. Now, the brakes. I think I did those wrong. In hindsight, I did not have fun cleaning up those calipers. They were just too rusty. I should have popped the 20 bucks for a complete unit. Oh well, it's done. They're installed, and now I get to move on to something new. So I'm going to get back on that thing in the garage, and you guys keep having fun, and I will too. We'll see you next time.